Hey, what's up? Pete here, and today I wanted to do a completely different type of video for you. I appreciate if you're new to my channel, you may already see that this channel is about sales, marketing, and helping to exponentially level up your business. Today though, instead of sharing another tip or another way that you can improve your sales or marketing, instead what I wanted to do was talk about me. I want to get to know you better, and sometimes the best way to do that is sharing my story and my background. Also, you may notice that I put a lot of content out here on this channel, and you're probably thinking, hold on a second, this guy, is he legit? Has he done it himself? Is he actually good at sales and marketing? And has he helped others? And ultimately, can he help me? And that is a fair question. My sales and marketing career didn't start by being great at either of those things. In fact, quite the opposite. I started off 18 years ago as a personal trainer, and I thought to myself, I want to travel, I want to get paid for it. So I'm going to use what I've got, which was my personal training qualification. And a friend of mine mentioned to me, she said, Pete, you can go and work on board a cruise ship, you can get paid and you get to travel. So that was enough for me to pack my bags, clear out my apartment and head halfway around the world to join my first ever cruise ship contract. Once I arrived in Alaska, I remember asking at the hotel lobby, how far is this place on the map? Because we're going back some time now, before smartphones and Google Maps. And the receptionist looked at me and said, you're gonna have to get up early in the morning because that is a 3.5-hour drive. So I had to book this taxi that cost me hundreds of dollars and take a 4 a.m. taxi all the way to a place called Seward, which is where my new home for the next 9 months would be. I arrived on the ship fresh as anything, ready to what I thought was going to be teaching aerobics, morning stretch class, walk a mile, circuit training, and so on and so forth. Little did I know that there was a real commercial element to the business as well. And that meant ultimately not just simply delivering the fitness classes that the guests got as a part of their cruise, but also being able to educate them and help them, and then through a consultation, being able to influence them to want to make a transformation in their life and basically with their health and fitness. And that led to potentially a sale worth $1,000 or even $2,000-$3,000. Now, I'll never forget my manager saying to me, how good is your revenue, when I first walked on board? And I said, I'm Pete Scott. I was this cocky, I was this overconfident 21-year-old. And I generally thought that I would be able to show up on day one and sell like crazy. Oh my goodness, could I have not been more wrong? My first week, I think I delivered $6 in revenue. So I came up thousands and thousands of dollars short of my target. My second week, I doubled my revenue and I came in on $12. And you get the idea of where this is going. I'll never forget sitting down with my manager about 6 weeks into that contract. And he basically looked at me point blank and said, Pete, it is costing you far more money to keep you here on this ship than you're actually making for the company. And he said, I'm almost out of options here. If you cannot turn your performance around in the next couple of weeks, then we'll have to send you home. It had been a long time coming. I'd settled in and I went through the pain in the first few weeks of not performing. But then what I noticed is that it became the new normal. I was just a low performer. At least I was traveling the world. And on top of that, I was getting this great life experience as well. But the reality of having consultation after consultation, sitting down with these clients and then having them say, I'll think about it, or just a point blank, no, thank you. As the saying goes, which I will misquote, a man or woman only makes real change when they experience great pain. That was at 20 something years old. Great pain. I had this big leaving party saying, I'll see you all in 9 months. And the reality kicked in that I was going to have to go home a failure, saying, hey, I couldn't sell enough just to keep my job. That sparked a fire within my belly because my manager basically said, I don't see you being able to turn this around in the next couple of weeks unless some miracle happens. He said, I want to help you, but at the same time, Pete, maybe you're just not cut out for this kind of work. So I remember this, I immediately approached my colleagues and started asking them, what do you do to succeed in this role? And what I'm about to share with you is a clear illustration that you need to be careful who you ask for advice from. To my surprise at the time, my teammates said things like, oh, you should be grateful because you're going to be sent home. They're going to pay for you to go home. You don't have to work 12 hours a day and do this kind of job and be exhausted like me 8 months into a contract. And I was like, wow, thanks. And then my next teammate said something along the lines of, well, it's because you're on this type of ship. If you were on a bigger ship, with this company, you'd be succeeding. And then the final person I spoke to legitimately said, it's because, Pete, all the clients are cheap on this ship. And upon reflection of these conversations today, I realized that the advice I was seeking was from other people who also weren't performing. Sure enough, they were doing well enough to keep their job, but they were barely holding on. But that had become the norm for them, where I wanted to be different. I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to thrive in that role. So instead, I went straight to the top performer in the team, sat down with him. He gave me some great feedback. He said, Pete, if you're going to succeed in this role, then there's a few things that you need to know. Number one is your mentality. How you decide to show up each day is going to be key. He said, I know that you've already got a girlfriend on board the ship. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you're putting more energy and focus into her and to go into the crew parties than you are actually learning about sales, leveling up when it comes to being here every day and being proactive. Now, this was a tough pill to swallow because as far as I was concerned, I'd set up this life on board and that was my priority. And there was somebody telling me point blank that make-believe life that I'd created over 6 weeks was actually me bullshitting myself, where actually what I needed to do was focus on the reason why I was there in the first place. So that was the first profound conversation. The second thing was I emailed the company top performer and I said, listen, you're at the top of the revenue table every single week. So I know you, but you're not going to know me because I'm all the way at the bottom. But if you could give me any advice or tips, because I've been told I'm going home in 2 weeks unless I turn my performance around. He emailed me back and he said, Pete, it's funny you say this because in a few days' time, our ships are going to be in the same port. I've already registered you to come over to the ship and have a conversation with me. And I'll never forget the first question I asked him. I said, look, you're the top performer in the company. You could be off enjoying your day, going out for a nice meal, doing anything that you want. You don't have to be here with some stranger and some guy that's at the bottom of the company. So I said to him, what made you actually want to email me back and even go so far as having this conversation with me? He said, Pete, I've been at the top of the company thereabouts for the last 8 years. And in all of that time, you are the only person ever who has reached out and asked for help. He may not have realized, but that message was the biggest breakthrough I had and all I needed from that conversation. To have a deep sense of curiosity, because most people don't ask. He said, I've been ridiculed, I've been criticized, I've been told that I do X and Y to make the sale. I've been told that I'm only here because I'm lucky or I'm on the best ship. And here you are genuinely asking me how I do it. So of course, why wouldn't I meet with you? That inspired the heck out of me. And that 1 hour conversation allowed me to draw a line in the sand and say, never again will I be at the bottom of this company. Now, it wasn't an instant result, but the following week, I was able to do several $1,000s in sales and enough to keep my job. And slowly, over a period of 6 months, I went from bottom to middle and started to creep my way up in the rankings as well. Fast forward a year later, and I was getting ready to go and do another contract. But this time I decided to switch to a different company. I remember sitting down and making a decision before I stepped on board that next contract. I said, I will be the best in this company. I stepped onto that ship as a completely different person. And what I mean by that is that I stepped on board the ship and everybody I met, because nobody knew me before that time, I told them that I don't drink. I told them that I'm here to focus for the 6-month contract. And a great thing happened. My first day on board the ship, I smashed my 3-week target out of the park. I realized that so much of what we do comes down to how we approach life day after day, and everything is connected. The really good news is that you could go onto a cruise ship and you could say whatever you want and you could create this whole new character in who you are, because we didn't have social media back then. Nobody knew anything about you. So I took that very consciously and made a decision that I would be top of the company. It was only then when my manager at the time sat me down and said, Pete, you are doing more sales than the team of 17 people put together. When you hit your target, the entire team hits target week after week after week. Can you sit down with the team and do some training with them? And I think it was that night or maybe the following night that I sat down with the team. They kind of rolled their eyes that what's Pete gonna say? And I didn't have too much to share at the time other than simply stating, I believe whoever I meet is already a yes. I've decided it before they've walked in the door. When I sit down for a consultation, I know they're going to buy. Starting from no is a much steeper mountain to climb than starting from yes. The following day, the team had the best performing day in the history of the business. And that was it. My passion for teaching people sales and marketing and helping them to transform their business was born. Short time later, I was asked to go into head office and start teaching the entire company in sales. I was focusing on the consultations, how they can market themselves, and basically how they could go from zero every single week and go and generate thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in sales. It was a crazy time because at 24 years old, there I am flying all over the world, being asked to go to a cruise ship in Santorini or Mexico because the department had underperformed the day before. It was such a fun time in my life. And I think what I enjoyed about it so much was that when I saw that transformation in the person I was helping, when they went from struggling with sales, being frustrated about it, to actually being able to sell with ease and confidence, it was so fulfilling for me that it just became an obsession, and I wanted to dive deeper into the sales psychology, the philosophies, why people buy, how we can succeed in the role. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't always get it right, and I didn't succeed with every single team member or manager that I worked with. But what I believe in my 20s is I had a great experience and fast track into what I do today. By the time I turned 30, I came off cruise ships and I thought to myself, hold on a second, I've been teaching people sales for the last 10 years. I can do this on land. So I decided to set myself up as a sales trainer in London and approaching companies. Now that's for a whole different YouTube video, because was it successful straight away? Absolutely not. Did I make plenty of mistakes? Yes, and that's for 100 other YouTube videos. It shows that it is actually about not giving up and it's about staying focused. Ever since I was 20 years old, this is what I've lived and breathed and obsessed about. And like I say, it didn't start off in the best possible way, but I was able to turn that struggle into something successful. Fast forward to today, I'm the founder of the Ultimate Sales Academy, where we help tens of thousands of business owners every single year, experts in their field who may struggle to sell their expertise. And we focus specifically on moving away from transactional selling, where you're just trying to get the next client, into what's called transformational selling, where you're truly making a significant change and transformation in the life of your client. And a big part of my 2021 focus is to show up here daily on YouTube. Why? Because there's so many more people out there that I believe once you're able to master and become confident and have a strategy in your sales and marketing, then not only can you make your business dream a reality or your hobby a real business, you also possess a skill that whether this business succeeds or not, you will be able to use that skill of sales. You'll be able to use the strategies within marketing in anything what you do. So thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it. And I look forward to getting to know you throughout this channel. Make sure if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.